Four shows, and then lost a few. Yeah, we moved it inside.
Any marching band? Any marching band?
No marching.
Did I get a confirmation?
It is what it is. It's not. They're not very
You're going to go first. That's not appropriate. So I'll see you later. And I know you saw me because I gave you this. I was about to give you one last finger, but I didn't because I'm late. Yeah.
They're weird.
The raincoat from the last
Good evening. This is our June 3rd, 2024 University Heights City Council meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here. Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Here.
Mrs. Sachs?
Here.
Mr. Cooney?
Here.
Mrs. Wise?
Here.
Mr. Rapp?
Here.
Ms. Marshall? Here. Ms. Weiser? Here.
Will everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Mrs. Thomas sent the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to it? Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rob?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
The minutes are accepted. We're now to additions and removals from the agenda. I do have one addition. It is Resolution 2024-39, recognizing June 2024 as Pride Month in the city of University Heights. I would actually like that to be letter A, if that is okay, Ms. Thomas? Okay. Are there any other additions or removals? Okay. Are there any comments from the audience?
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
need to
Yes,
vote.
we need to vote, I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second by Mr. King. Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks? Aye. Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rob?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, comments from the audience. If you could please state your name and address, and if you could please limit it to 5 minutes.
I'm Tina Hanna-Beyer, University Parkway. Since I first spoke to council last October about the traffic and parking issues that have existed on our block since August of 2018, with the exception of COVID, I've learned firsthand many eye-opening things about how city government really works. I want to emphasize that I remain grateful for the willingness of Mr. Pennington and his staff to do their part so that when possible, the trash pickup on Monday mornings does not coincide with school children waiting for their buses on our block. However, the larger problem of parked cars obstructing the view of service department drivers remains, which will become an even greater problem when automated recycling collection begins in the fall. Back in spring of 2021, a resident of our block appeared on a Zoom City Council meeting to directly ask then Law Director Mr. Conville, when will a cease and desist order be issued? The short answer is, it wasn't. But in 2022, a temporary restraining order was issued by the city against the new owners of a house on Churchill. The neighbors objected to the presence of these new owners because of their fear of an increase in traffic and parking problems on their residential street. The residents submitted a petition, even listing in their correspondence with the city the known traffic and parking problems on University Parkway at the time as a reason why they did not want the same to happen on their street. I found the document online and can provide a copy to prove this. Why, Mayor Brennan, did you then choose to act on behalf of the residents of Churchill, but yet our block has not merited equal consideration by you or the administration? Is it because you saw the opportunity for one of the sides in the Churchill case to help you get reelected, and indeed, you took exactly that opportunity? And or was it because after I first spoke about this issue in October, I declined your private invitation to meet with you privately in City Hall? It's worth noting that when I forwarded that invitation to the rest of council, stating that I had already presented all of the information I had and preferred that any meeting include those on council or its committees in a position to help, the mayor wrongfully claimed that such a meeting would constitute a quorum. Certain council members objected to that false reasoning, to their credit, and I was glad that I had listened to my intuition to keep all communications public. Traffic, parking, and yes, even zoning laws should be applied fairly and equitably citywide, no matter which block is being considered. In theory, city government should be willing to act on legitimate issues no matter the financial resources of the residents affected. But then there's reality. About a year ago, the intersection at Washington and Silsbee, adjacent to the City Hall complex, was reworked in order to bring the stop signs closer together. In the 6 years I've lived here, residents have repeatedly stated the need for similar traffic calming at the intersections of South Belvoir and Silsbee, as well as at Washington and Miramar. That intersection was specifically mentioned by a resident at the May 6th council meeting last month. I understand that the city cannot afford to do such projects all at once. The city must live within its budget, just like the rest of us, and must carefully balance spending taxpayer funds it has been entrusted with the need to spend money on projects that will ensure the ongoing safety of our residents in their everyday lives. I'm sorry to say that the recent activities of Mayor Brennan do not seem to reflect an interest in the needs of those who actually live here. While we all know that the mayor enjoys a good party, parade, or fundraiser, and who can blame him? Perhaps it is time for the mayor to continue his career with, say, his friends on the county council, or wherever his interests may take him. Finally, since our law director only joined the city 2 months ago, I would like permission to hand him some documentation relating to my comments tonight from before his employment began.
Are there any other comments from the audience?
Kelly Sheehy, 3917 Faversham Road. First of all, happy Pride. I'm here tonight to talk to you about lessons learned so far throughout the mayoral recall process. I've had the absolute pleasure of walking throughout our fair city with members of the recall committee, educating the community on the recall and the toxic, unprofessional, inappropriate behavior of the mayor. I continue to be shocked and disappointed by the number of residents who say that they are terrified to sign the petition as they fear retaliation from this mayor. They have heard the horror stories from other residents who have been targeted for simply having a difference of opinion from the mayor. To make matters more complicated, this mayor seems to employ and/or support those who pledge their unwavering support to him and/or make financial contributions to his campaign. I encourage everyone to look at his campaign finance records. Please reach out to me if you'd like a copy. It's a very interesting read. Michael, you've done a truly fantastic job of creating a culture of fear and intimidation throughout our beautiful community. Many residents are scared of what you will do to them if you see their name and address on the recall petition. No resident should ever be fearful of the retaliation of an elected official. This is the legacy you will leave, a toxic, power-hungry man who will do anything he can to control others. On a separate note, I would like to remind you, Michael, that texting and driving is illegal. At 2:15 p.m. on Friday, May 31st, as you were driving down Warrensville Center in a white Subaru, you swerved into my lane while you were texting and driving. I know that you think you're above the law, but the city cannot clearly afford any more lawsuits, so please put down your phone and focus on the road.
That's funny.
Are there any other comments from the audience?
I have a letter from a resident.
Sure, Ms. Marshall.
The resident's name is Beverly Johnson. She lives at 3625 Silsbee Road. Honorable Mayor and council constituents, I direct this correspondence to you, Mayor first, then to the governing body. I have lived in the city of in the University Heights community for over 45 years and have raised my children in the University Heights school system, from Northwood Elementary, Canterbury Elementary to Wiley Junior High, and culminating at Heights High before going on to college. I have enjoyed living in this diverse neighborhood and experiencing the many activities and opportunities afforded my children and my neighbors, as we all have watched them grow from toddlers to adults and return with their children. Every year for the past 45 years, my family has looked forward to the Memorial Day parade with its assorted array of participants. Everyone waited in tiptoe anticipation to see which band was playing that year, Heights High or Wiley. It was especially exciting when our children became old enough to play in the band or partake in some of other activities. Although it was University Heights parade, merchants from Cleveland Heights and surrounding suburbs joined in. It gave neighbors an opportunity to see each other after being closed in all winter, and to greet and meet neighbors that had moved into the community. There was also a chance city leaders, even the service workers who pick up our garbage. I am saying all this to wage my complaints about our concern for all the residents of University, and not just, quote, Upper University Heights. With all due respect, there is not a difference in our tax or in the level of pride we take in the maintenance of our property. I am appalled and disheartened that 3 generations of my family came over to Lower University Heights, the Silsbee and Shoal, to be sorely disappointed after years of tradition, because you have chosen to show this blatant display of separatism and classism. If you take the parade up any further, there will be no need for this end to even open our doors. The parade used to begin at Taylor Road, even though that is not a part of University Heights, and wrap itself around Jackson. You have taken away the University Heights sign that shows the demarcation. I think that you should be the starting point so the whole city can enjoy. Disgruntled resident Beverly A. Johnson. And Councilman Cooney, I will forward a copy of this letter to you, and you as well, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Marshall. Mayor, do you have any communications or reports?
I do. The 2024 Memorial Day Parade was a complete success. The rain stopped just in time. The number of units in the parade has returned to pre-pandemic levels. We were joined by public officials, including our City Council and Cleveland Heights University School Board, State Representative Juanita O'Brent, Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court Judge Francine Goldberg. Thank yous go out to Parade Grand Marshal Mitch Liebsla, Citizen of the Year Chris Myrick, Rabbi Joseph Kirsch, Deacon Maurice Miller, the University Heights Symphonic Band, the Cleveland Heights University Heights School District for allowing the city to use the Garrity PDS building and grounds, and by which we thank Superintendent Elizabeth Kirby, Director of Business and Operations George Petcack, Building Custodian Jarius McConnell. Members of the City Service Department, including Assistant Service Director John Picella, together with John Douglas, Bruno Inokwu, Dave Manfroni, Ken Beck, Eric Major, Joe Cardarello, Brett Boyd, and of course, our Director Alan Pennington. The University Heights Fire Department, as well as the South Euclid Fire Department, the University Heights Police Department and Auxiliary, the Local 4 Music Performance Trust Fund, and the Memorial Day Planning Committee members, including Sean Belt, Hartley Bramhall Love, Executive Assistant to the Mayor on Special Projects, Deanna Brammer-Fisher, Ron Collier, Communications and Civic Engagement Director Mike Cook, Councilmember Chris Cooney, Brady Dindia, Rich Freed, Robin Gernsheimer, Wendy Gernsheimer, Jerry Jacobson, Mitch Liebsla, John Measley, Renee Morrell, Annie Robinson, Ed Rychek, Chloe Celia, Dr. Alicia Sloan, Robin Van Leer, Matthew Vincent, Sean Weiss, and our summer intern Jackson Parasuti. Today, by my order as Mayor of University Heights for the month of June, below our city flag at City Hall, the Pan 13th. The Progress Pride flag flies for Pride Month in support of the LGBTQIA community. While we have flown the traditional Pride flag at City Hall every June since 2019, initially to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, this year we are flying the Progress Pride flag, which incorporates chevrons, black and brown for the LGBTQIA plus people of color, blue, pink, and white for trans people. I thought it was especially important with legislation in Columbus taking aim against trans children and trans people, that we let our trans friends, family, and neighbors know that we see them and we support them. Both flags will fly for the month of June. Yesterday I attended and gave remarks at the ribbon cutting for the remodeled and expanded Noble Neighborhood Library. The library will fully open in 2 weeks while final technical details are worked out with the computers and the phones. Regular hours are set to begin in 2 weeks on Monday, June 17th. This July, homeowners will receive an important letter from the county containing the new reappraisal valuation of your real estate. Reappraisal in other counties last year ranged from mid-20s to upper 40%. There are no official numbers yet from the state-ordered appraisal, but University Heights residents can expect a significant increase in valuation in July. At Heights High School this coming Thursday, June 6th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is an informational presentation on the 2024 Sexennial Reappraisal. This presentation is hosted by Cuyahoga County and will provide information on how the reappraisal process works, explanation of the proposed value notice, that would be the notice you'll be getting in July, how to participate in the informal review process, and the deadline to file a complaint with the Board of Revision. We may not all have, really any of us have, our valuations yet, but I strongly encourage that you go to this meeting on June 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Heights High School Auditorium. Events coming up next week include joining Councilmember Brian King and me for a bike ride through University Heights on Sunday, June 9th, 2024. Gather at Walter Stinson Community Park at 1:30 p.m. for registration, an overview of the ride, and a bike safety check. The ride will step off promptly at 2 p.m. and return to the park at approximately 4 p.m. The route is easy enough for all ages to participate. Before the ride, volunteers from Heights Bicycle Coalition will be on hand to provide information about riding safely and assist us with bicycle safety check and tune-up. If you haven't ridden your bike yet this year, be sure to arrive early. Members of the University Heights Police Department Bike Unit will accompany us on the route. On the ride, we will visit several homes in University Heights where the owners have installed solar power systems and hear from them about the process and benefits. We will also visit the Garrity Professional Development School Learning Garden and hear from the garden manager. Yoga in the Park begins Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. at the Wall. The first summer concert is with Lauren Lanzaretta, Thursday, June 13th, 7 p.m. at the Wall. Juneteenth is Sunday afternoon, June 16th, beginning at 1:30 p.m. with acts and attractions throughout the day, including Cleveland Chorale, The New Connection, Jewel Big Green, The Land Brass Band, Humble G, poetry by Heights poet laureate Sierra Freeman, with headliner Jake Nova set for that evening at 7:45 p.m. And that's all at the Dollar Band, the main stage. The second stage, presented by AIDS Task Force of Greater Cleveland, includes DJ Cleveland, UH Talent Show, Nova Performing Arts, line dancing, Zumba, hip-hop cardio, and the Cooper Comedy Hour. Like the University Heights Memorial Day Parade, University Heights Juneteenth is shaping up to be the marquee event of the holiday here on the East Side. I am proud of the work of Jeff Engelbrecht and the Juneteenth Committee. So my thanks in advance to Tekla Deschamps, Derek Williams, Ron Collier, Dr. Alicia Sloan, Faye Benson, Renisha Hamilton, and Eric Williams. It is residents like these who, with their volunteer service, make University Heights so much more than home. Thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you. We're now up to reports and communications from the City Council and taking of action thereon. I just want to thank all of you council members. There have been a lot of committee meetings in the last couple of weeks, and there are many in the next couple of weeks. Does any other council members have anything they'd like to report on? Okay, reports and communications from directors. Department of Finance, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I did send this afternoon a copy of our 2023 audit report that was filed with the Auditor of State. That was completed last week. That document had to be filed prior to May 31st, so we met that deadline. We still have about 10 days to 2 weeks of field work to do for the audit. We'll come in and pull some documents and do some testing. The final report for the audit and the opinion letter is due to be produced by June 30th once it's approved by the Auditor of State. So we're on schedule to do that right now. So I will be getting out April and May revenue and expense reports to everybody probably by the end of this week. And if anybody has any questions on those, please contact me. I will also have a mid-year budget amendment for the next council meeting to take care of some of the things that transpired since the budget was approved. And I'll be happy to have a briefing memo prepared to explain all those adjustments to the budget. Other than that, the only other good news is our income tax collections are up. I haven't final reconciled yet the May collections. And for the first time that I'm aware of, our investment portfolio is now over $9 million. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Director of Law, Mr. Brennan.
I have no report, Vice Mayor. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Public safety, police,
Vice Mayor, no report.
and fire, Chief Perfo.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Hopefully last week, everybody received the fire department's monthly report for April. Coming in May, you'll see another one, commending some shift numbers on a company citation they received for a successful delivery of a baby boy in the field. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge Captain Bill Schultze, firefighters Pacone, Hope, Thomas, Vic King, and the receiver Carlton. They did a great job. It was a good collaboration between dispatch, police, and fire. And if you haven't seen it yet, there was a nice news story Fox 8 picked up on it. Other than that, we are completing hydrant flushing and flowing for the spring maintenance, and we'll have a report on that next month too.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Pennington.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and members of council. I have two items to say. First of all, the quotas amount of bid did not receive any bids. We will be going out for rebid on the quotas here shortly. In addition, I had a part-time employee begin their training today. Mr. Rick Mosby is our new part-time service department employee who's begun training on buttons. Be working in our department. So we welcome you to the city and wish you well.
Thank you. Okay, building, Mr. Chief.
Excuse me. I have no report.
Thank you. Housing and Community Development, Mr. Monica.
Vice Mayor, I have no report today.
Thank you. And City Engineer, Ms. Monsby.
Good evening. So I just wanted to report a couple things. The pavement marking program began advertising last week on Thursday. I received two requests for bid books and 2 requests from plan. So those were contractors, and 2 requests from plan rooms. So they'll post those bid books on their websites. Other contractors can look at them. Also, Service Park some pickleball courts bids for the bid opening was on Friday, and we didn't receive any bids. So I did reach out to a couple of companies that picked up requested bid books, and some of the feedback that I got back was our price was too low, that they weren't able to come within 20% of our engineer's estimate. The access to the courts is a little more challenging. It's not on a street, it's not right off the parking lot. So there would be probably some restoration work that would be involved along the sidewalk leading to the courts. Subcontractor needed. The net system were all higher than what some of the prime contractors had originally anticipated. One of my subcontractors commented on that the portion of the project that they would be responsible for the cost, and they didn't justify them securing the bond for the whole project. So, and then I think finally it was just higher mobilization costs. So I guess I'm gonna take a look at the engineer's estimate and do some research to look for some other local asphalt companies closer to this area that might be interested in the projects. And then we will talk about whether we're gonna rebid or if there's a way we could ask just limited number of contractors if they would be interested in submitting bids for us.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
The blue courts were resurfaced in 2022.
It's older than 22. It's more recent than the red one. I think that, yeah.
Well, I think those other cars are right next to the parking lot. So I think access to the courts was a little easier. So I think this set of plans, we figured that they would have to come down the like walkway with their equipment. They would have to remove some of the fencing to access the court. There's some bushes there that would need to be removed. So there was a little bit more, there's a little bit more involved.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And then I'm just continuing to work on Sophie and the street repair program. I'll let you guys pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. Communications and civic engagement.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just want to come tonight and say congratulations to everyone. I'm not going to steal Mr. Pennington's thunder from his upcoming agenda item, but I think we all should be very pleased with the number of people in University Heights who chose to opt in to the new recycling program. And all of you deserve credit for hyping that amongst your constituents. And this is actually a conversation on the record a couple months ago where our goal was to hit people 3 times. We did that once with Mosaic, second time with the mailer, and then the third time, hopefully between Friday e-news, other emails, plus social media, plus ready to notify message, the website, the Washington City events, and earned media meeting coverage we got in the newspaper. Yeah, I think we reached a lot of people, and I think, of course, there's going to be one resident who says, I didn't hear about it, and that'll be frustrating, but that always happens, and there's something wrong with that. But I think that we got the word out, again, all of you running that, and, Mr. Pennington did a fantastic job, as did Reverend Fisher, and Jeff Eberbach actually helped us reach out to landlords. So there was a bit more confusion to the landlords for that, but we worked with them, and yeah, I think we got a good number. And so a little bit, Mr. Pennington was like all about that. I just want to say congratulations.
out of, and the fact that it doesn't have its own Wi-Fi source. But
Are we running this one? So we won't have a recording of this?
Well, we always have a voice
Good.
recording. So voice recording can be
I
posted.
think it looks good right now.
I thought I had emailed you, Mr.
Yeah, and we
Brown.
had Starfish out here last week, showing, you'll notice that it's set up in a different place, trying to troubleshoot what any problem would be. It's been working, as I understand, it's been working almost all the meeting, a couple glitches, but Jackson's on.
In reviewing the 3-4 meeting, which was crystal clear, no glitches. It absolutely baffles me what has happened since then. Apparently, we've not been able to find it. I would think at this point, maybe we need to really look at finally getting something in here where our residents have the right of a live stream. Apparently, other cities have no problem doing it, but University Heights has issues. Do you think we can fix it?
We can go with whatever system you all want to pay for. I agree that the frustration, why the same thing work on March 4th and doesn't work. It's not. The meeting hasn't changed. Again, we've had Starfish out here. We can, whatever system you want to go. In other cities, of course.
Mayor, is it possible to actually have somebody look into getting a reliable system for us?
Sure, this is your meeting. This is the city council's meeting. I don't chair this meeting. This is your body. If you would like to do something else, please let us know. Let us know what you want.
Mayor, it seems to me that this is not the city council meeting. This is the University Heights City Council meeting. This meeting belongs to the city of University Heights and to our residents. Well, your response is a bit flip. I think it is a bit denigrating to residents that actually want to hear it. You know as well as I do that you are the first one to say that equipment and things like that are the purview of the administration. And I do believe this is something that maybe the administration needs to work with council on. If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but I think you need to explain to the residents why your insistence, promises of transparency and how everybody was going to be able to are not being fulfilled. That's it.
Mr. Bryan, what is the legal obligation to stream this meeting? I heard about a legal obligation.
It does not have to be streamed legally.
Does that have to be video recorded legally?
It does not.
Mr. Bryan, if we pass an ordinance requiring council meetings to be streamed, would it become a legal obligation?
It would.
Then, but would you please prepare an ordinance that so says that for our next council meeting, so we could resolve this for the mayor?
I would point out that there's only one mayor who's ever video recorded meetings, who's ever streamed meetings, and that's me. So I know we're having some technical difficulties. I'm sorry, what was that?
Pandemic.
Right. During the pandemic, we streamed meetings then as well. Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying we're having issues, and there seems to be an issue with getting it fixed.
Well, we are in what is a temporary facility, seemingly. The fact that we have not done more before now to resolve the facilities issue. All the other cities we're talking about have made a far greater investment than the University Heights has with respect to, the setup of the council chambers. Here we are, in this room. No, I mean, I've been denigrated here. I've been told I don't know my job. I've been told that I'm violating the law or that I'm not being transparent. And again, I'm the only mayor that's ever done any of it.
I never said you were violating the law. I just said, please, I know you love to put words in my mouth that I don't say. And I actually had to read something into the minutes of the meeting that very clearly proved to you that what you said was not true, but that's okay.
Well, I'm glad you did
Okay,
that.
don't
Sounds
worry.
like
We are
one
going to
thing you said I said
continue, we
was
are going to
actually
continue
accurate.
with the meeting. Mr. Cook, thank you very much.
No, it wasn't.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right, Ms. Drucker, Economic Development. Okay, we are now at reading and disposition of ordinance and resolutions and motions. We have replaced letter A with resolution 2024-39. Mr. Rock is going to read the resolution into the minutes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a resolution recognizing June 2024 as Pride Month in the city of University Heights. And on this resolution, there will be a second page for the signatures of all council members if you so choose to sign on to this resolution. You'll have to meet with Ms. Thomas at City Hall at some point next week to make that happen. But I'm going to go ahead and read this. Whereas the city of University Heights is a diverse community comprised of people from all walks of life and a multitude of backgrounds living together in harmony. And whereas the people who make up the LGBTQIA+ community, being people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning/queer, intersex, asexual / aromantic, together with their allies, are our friends, family, and neighbors who seek an acceptance for who they are within the greater community. And whereas within the Stonewall Uprising in 1969, thus began the modern civil rights movement for individuals, and this movement has made significant progress in the pursuit of equal rights and protections under the law. And whereas in 2019, the City Council of University Heights adopted a resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. And whereas in 2020, the mayor and all members of City Council jointly sponsored and enacted an ordinance prohibiting discrimination against the LGBTQIA individuals in employment and public accommodations, joining Cuyahoga County and other select communities around Ohio, while the state and federal governments continue to fail to offer these same protections against discrimination. And whereas the LGBTQIA+ community has come under challenges again from individuals who would limit the rights of citizens. And whereas the city of University Heights raised the pride flag at City Hall every June since the 2019 commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, and in celebration of Pride Month. And whereas the month of June is widely recognized as Pride Month in communities throughout our nation. And whereas the arc of the moral universe is long but nevertheless bends towards justice, and that the virtuous pursuit of justice must be tireless and relentless. And whereas it is a strong desire of the city of University Heights to continue to create a welcoming community for all people, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. That people in the city feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. That we continue to lead by example until our state and our country implement the same protections against discrimination that we have in the city. Now therefore be it resolved jointly by the mayor and the city council of the city of University Heights that Section 1, Council of the City of University Heights hereby declares June 2024 as LGBTQIA Pride Month in the City of University Heights. Section 2, the Clerk of Council is hereby instructed to distribute notice of the passage of this resolution in her usual and customary way. Section 3, it is hereby found and determined that all formal actions of the council concerning or relating to the passage of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements. And Section 4, the resolution is declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the preservation of the public peace, safety, health, and welfare of the citizens of the City of University Heights. It shall therefore become effective upon passage by the affirmative vote of not less than 5 members of council and approval of the mayor. Otherwise, it shall become effective at the earliest time allowed by law.
Thank you. Are there any comments? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall? Aye. Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda letter B, Resolution 2024-38, requesting that the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation accept conveyance of certain University Square parcels from KL Holdings LLC and University Square Parking LLC respectively, and subsequently convey said parcels back to KL Holdings LLC or its designee, and to the City of University Heights or its designee as specified herein, and authorizing the removal of past due special assessments from certain University Square parcels and declaring an emergency on emergency. Mr. Bryant, would you like to discuss this resolution?
Yes, Vice Mayor. This is a resolution that would convey the University Square property, the parcels to the county land bank, and then the land bank back to the developer and the parking garage to either University Heights or its designee. Through that process, all liens on the property would be resolved and back taxes would be resolved. So it would allow the developer to move forward with the new project without being saddled with those liens and back taxes. And this was part of the process through the bankruptcy court.
Yeah, I think it's important for the public to know, and we've shared this before, that this is not collectible debt. This is paper debt. This is money that was, these assessments existed to service the bonds. And this debt has accumulated, since the bond holders filed foreclosure on the property back in 2015. So this is money that, in essence, the bondholders owed to themselves that became and continue to be assessed on the property. And there is nobody at the county or here at the city or at the school district or any of the other taxing authorities who actually expects to be paid anything out of this paper debt. It is not collectible, and it is merely an impediment for redevelopment. So it needs to be swept off the books so that the redevelopment can proceed. It's one of many steps.
So, Mr. Bryant, I have just a couple questions. So this is essentially wiping the slate clean. Has the property closed yet?
It hasn't been. This it would be transferred it to the land bank. They need us to approve this piece of legislation. Acquire the property, transfer it.
Okay, and then how, I don't know if it's to the mayor or to Mr. Bryant, because I know Mr. McConnell is still engaged in this piece, but
yes.
how much longer till the parcel, till University Square actually closes?
Well, the closing date was slated for the 15th, approximately. It's going to require a little additional time just because of the additional time that's been taken with regard to this issue. I think the record of the bankruptcy court will reflect, so I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to share this, that the stakeholders in the bankruptcy had all requested the bankruptcy court to, as a part of the order of sale, approving the sale, that the court itself would make this conveyance directly to the land bank. The court did not see fit to do it like that, and therefore there's been some repositioning of how to maneuver the property back to the land bank. And that's taken some discussion. We've had some meetings on this. And this is the form that we've taken for moving this project, getting it over to the land bank, making sure that there is an understanding that the taxing authorities, including the city and the school district, understand that we have no objection to the county making this taking this action with the land bank. It is typical that properties would not take this particular chain of transfers to get to the land bank, but this is something that we have worked on because the circumstances are so exceptional, and it is so, sui generis, if I may say that. It's so unusual and unlike any other situation that is likely to recur, that its precedential value is little or none with regard to using this particular mechanism for getting the property to the land bank so that the cleansing of the liens can happen as we always negotiated and agreed and envisioned.
So I understand if you can't answer this in public and we might need an executive session, but can you tell us when approximately it will close?
Well, no, because we need to go back to the court with and probably ask for a brief extension. We will know better after this resolution passes and after the school district has to also act based upon the resolution that we make. So we're also looking at the school district for being able to make some sort of affirmative statement as well. So I can't say yet how much more time the stakeholders will be asking. Everybody wants this to move along as quickly as possible. I don't know as of now how many additional days they will seek on the closing date. Everybody's got to report back to the court and give the court the best estimate for when they think closing is going to
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, is there? Oh, yes, sorry, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Bryan, maybe you can elaborate a little more, just from my understanding here. So this resolution we're requesting that the county direct into their land bank this parcel, clean slate, and then it comes back to the city? Or does it go straight to KL Holdings? Or is there, what happens in between?
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor. The land bank, right, we're authorizing that the property be transferred to the land bank, that the liens and taxes be dissolved, that it be transferred back to the developer, and the garage parcel at some point after repairs are made and it's brought up to proper condition, it would go to either the city or its designee, which could be the parking garage.
CSC, okay. Because that's where I wanted to make sure, because it does say in section 1 here of this resolution designees. I wanted to make sure that was clear, that it's not going to the city. Unless, the body here, this council could vote yea or nay on whether to accept that after that process is complete, correct?
No, my understanding is we're authorizing it to come back, and before that process occurs, we would be telling them either it's going to the city, then we're transferring into the parking garage CSC, or I don't know if they'll allow us to directly transfer it in there.
Yeah, no, the documents that we've worked on collectively with the stakeholders contemplated a transfer from the land bank in due time, as you've described, from the land bank to a CIC that we have not yet formed. We've had some discussions at the committee of the whole with regard to what that CIC may look like, and I think we've generally, subject to seeing, those changes reduced to writing, I think we're probably, have had a meeting of the minds on what that CIC looks like. But because we had not yet had that agreement, we did not put in this resolution the name of an entity that had not yet been formed or authorized to be formed. But we did put in there, the city or its designee. The city could accept parking garage, but I think the emerging consensus is to stay the course to have a limited purpose CIC form for that purpose. So, I believe we're going to take that up at the next city council meeting. There's going to be much work that needs to happen to the garage, and that will have to meet our approval before the CIC to be formed later would accept the garage as an asset.
Right, but we would have to take some action to direct the land bank as a group.
That's what I was concerned about. I just want to understand that in the event that the county chooses or administration prefers in any way that it goes to the city, I want to understand that there's a process in place that a yes or no vote on that can occur, so that the strategy behind this was going to go into the CIC, that we could fulfill that strategy.
Yes, there are other documents that will come before the council where the council will have the ability to ensure that.
Thank you.
Ms. Marshall?
The way that this worded, that it'll be transferred to the city of University Heights or is designated, is it the way that we can, I feel like the way it's worded is saying that we're saying that it's okay, we're okay with it being transferred to the city of University Heights. We can't just get rid of, can we say just the designee of the city of University Heights? Can we just say that flat out instead of saying to the city of University Heights or its designee?
Yeah, Mr. McConnell's not here. I would strongly urge that we not amend without his counsel anything here, and because of timing, I would urge that we do pass this evening as it is.
Yeah, Ms. Marshall, I think, we don't have that entity set up.
Well,
get this authorization to the land bank so that they know they're authorized to start their process.
But to your point, and as I intended to state in response to Mr. Round's question, the parking garage will not come to the city based upon this document, not without other documents that this council will have to agree on. So there will be another opportunity to be clear as a council and as a city where we want the parking garage to go. So it's not going to show up on our doorstep in the name of the city based solely on this document. It's going to, if we create this garage CIC and then execute the other documents with the other stakeholders that state that, and this council votes on those documents to approve the mayor, to authorize the mayor to enter those documents, you will have that opportunity then to ensure that the parking garage goes where you would like it to go.
So let's just say we don't create the CIC. Then what happens with this particular statement?
In those future documents, we would have to designate it to the city.
Or find some other designee.
Okay.
I'm not sure who that would be, but the most obvious designee would be a CIC, a single-purpose CIC to be formed.
Ms. Weiser?
Are these other documents in existence? Is there a reason why nothing has come to council where we actually have some time to look at them besides getting the packet on a Friday for a Monday meeting?
Well, they haven't been finalized yet.
So they're in existence but unfinal.
Well, they are in draft form.
Right. And part of the issue was we weren't sure
This issue, yes.
this issue, what process was going to occur as far as the transfer to the land bank, whether the bankruptcy court would be eventually persuaded to sign off on it itself.
But we've resolved that?
That's been, we've given this direction by Mr. McConnell that this is what we need to do, and the bankruptcy court is not going to do that, so yes, we're past that hurdle.
So that's resolved.
Yes.
So these other draft documents might actually get finalized?
Talk to them to see where
Is
we're
it
at.
possible to get them with a little bit more lead time so that if we got questions like this, we can get those resolved without having to vote on something on emergency?
I think we would probably want Mr. McConville here to answer questions on those documents. That would be my preference.
Then maybe we need to schedule that so we can get that done.
Well, we will do that, but we're not there yet. We are here at this point in the process, jumping ahead into a later part, which we won't get to if we don't pass this tonight.
I'm not saying we shouldn't pass this, Mayor, that's not my issue. My issue is we tend to get a lot of things on the Friday before a council meeting on Monday, and they show for emergency votes. If the council actually had a little more time to be able to look at these documents, read them, think about them, we would be able to meet with Mr. McConville with more intelligent questions. And I think that would be for the benefit of all.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sets?
Thank you. To Councilwoman Weiser's point, this particular packet has 149 pages that we received on Friday. There are lots of documents. To Councilwoman Marshall's point, to me, this reads clearly, and thereafter intends to transfer the parking garage parcel to the City of University Heights or its designee. There's no way we could just say to the City of University Heights' designee could be itself, but it's not to University Heights. This is the whole point of the discussion of the parking garage space. So I'm concerned. Thank you.
And I understand that the reason that we can't change the wording to that is because the designee does not exist yet.
Well, until the committee of the whole, it's unclear whether the designee, we were going to come to terms on the designee.
Right.
So it would have been premature, and it still remains premature
Right.
to list the name of an entity that we're going to take up at the next council.
Right, we don't want to list the name, but we can't keep the word designee in there and just get rid of to the City of University Heights and make it to the designee of university.
No, I don't think we can. It's a matter of agency and principle. We're going to have an agent, which is a designee. You still have to have a principal, which is the city. I think you have to have both.
And I would share the mayor's concerns of, Mr. McConville drafted these for a reason. Consulting with him, I would recommend.
And, I mean, just if you look in the resolution itself, it does say and designate each time, and it says University Heights, so it does say both each time. Put it under
Or it's designate.
yeah.
Or
Right, which means it gives us the option.
it gives us the option anyway, if it's at the University Heights' designee. That gives us the option, it doesn't scare me.
I understand.
And I'm not reading it correctly, please. No?
I mean, I'm okay with it, because it says or, so.
That just says two.
It says or, it's designated.
Or it's designated.
And if there isn't a designee for some reason, it is two universities. Yeah.
Well, there's still other agreements that are going to come before this council. So that's going to be controlling over this. So you will have an opportunity to take up that issue at that time.
I think it was clear in the council of the whole that we all agree that there's going to be a designee. I'm comfortable with that. Mr. Kennedy?
Just a question, the draft that I saw, this ordinance doesn't have the current value of the bonds in there, has that been determined?
Mr. King, I thought you and Mr. McConville were going to circle back on that.
Well, I did send him all the information that I had at the point in time, but.
You haven't heard back from?
Now, I sent him a copy of the report from the bond advisory group. The value as of last August was $33,800,000. I don't have a value. I made several attempts to contact that company as well. They're not our bonds, so I don't keep the financial records for that. But I did contact JWB Advisors and asked them, but I haven't heard back from them.
We could amend it to put that value in as of August last year, if council so desires.
Yeah, I mean, that would possibly be one way to have an amount that you know is an amount as of a date certain, and then say additional amounts that have been accrued since.
I think perhaps to answer your question, the ordinance may be brought at the next council meeting, so there will be time to add that amount to it.
We need this resolution now.
So that's what we're trying to figure out the amount.
A clarification, is that the ordinance for the CIC that you're referring to, or another one?
Oh, no, based on the discussion from the council.
The resolution
Earlier.
From the,
Yes.
from the council, so we're talking about the CIC?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that, Councilman Cooney.
Thank you.
So what was the amount, Mr. Cooney, that you had for 33 million?
I believe it's $33,800,000 as of the report dated August 13th. So I sent that information and a copy of the report to Mr. McConnell.
And that's 2023, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So if someone wants to make the amendment, I guess we would amend it to the outstanding principal amount of $33,800,000. I guess we would say approximately as of report dated August 13, 2023, and any additional amounts that have accrued since that date. So moved.
I'll second. Mrs. Thomas, will you call roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rod?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
And is there a motion to suspend the rules? Because it's an emergency. isn't it?
Oh, it's a resolution.
Oh, it's a resolution, so we just have to do it.
We need to vote, we just need a 2/3 majority to pass it.
It's an emergency.
So we've amended
Does
it.
it need a resolution then?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's really not a lot of difference between an ordinance and a resolution unless we're amending the code.
Okay, so is there a motion on urgency to accept resolution 2024-38?
So moved.
A second? I'll second. Ms. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rod?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item C, resolution 2024-37, adopting the alternative tax budget, 2025 tax budget on first reading. Mr. Kennedy?
I can take that, yeah. It's first reading. The alternative tax budget process is a statutory requirement by the Ohio Revised Code. Basically, what we do is provide the County Budget Commission with estimates of revenues and expenses for next year and proposed taxes that the county will then certify and return to the council once they conduct their review. The purpose of the County Budget Commission is to ensure that residents are not being assessed tax rates that are not necessary by the political subdivision to continue its operations. I did give you a briefing memo with some summary information. The important aspect is that the millage requested by the city is not any different than what's been in effect the last several years. So the city is not asking to have the county withhold additional millage on University Heights residents and businesses. We did change a little bit of the allocation on our inside mills from debt service to police and fire pension funds. The more money that is generated through property tax or police and fire pensions, it reduces the burden on the general fund. And because we only have one bond left that I believe is going to be paid off in 2029, we don't need that additional support from the inside millage. We'll have enough millage from the park bond assessment, which is 0.7 mil. That will generate approximately $232,500 each year, beginning next year. So this is on first reading. If anybody has any questions, all the information contained on the county schedules, they're all estimates based on where we're at today. I did try and color code some things there so you could see what are the sources of revenue from that make up for all the funds that we file with the county. We do not have any unvoted general obligation debt, so from that standpoint, we're in a very good position. As of the beginning of the calendar year, next year we'll owe $660,000 on the park bonds. The annual amount required to make that payment is roughly $141,000. It varies, it goes up the last several years. So, like I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has if you want to contact me. Again, this is on first readings to give everybody a chance to look at it. I know it's a lot of numbers, but it is a statutory requirement. It would have to be passed at the next meeting so I could file it prior to July 20th. That's the statutory date.
Any questions for Mr. Kennedy? Okay, thank you. We're now up to agenda item D, ordinance 2024-30, and this is version 2. This was discussed in the council of the whole meeting. I suggest that we table this. We're going to keep it tabled. We have an amended version that will be coming at the next meeting. So is there a motion to table this?
It was tabled, it's already tabled.
Unless somebody takes it off the table.
So we just don't take it off the table.
So unless anybody disagrees. Okay.
Let's leave it there.
And the same with agenda letter E. This is the second version. Unless somebody disagrees, I suggest we keep it tabled. Okay. Letter F. This also, we have to discuss it further. I know there might be some back and forth with this one. Some people might want to vote on it now, but I will try my best to make another council of the whole before the end of June to discuss this. We have not finished, in my mind, the full discussion on this.
We can always take it off the table at the next council meeting.
We'll try my hardest to get a meeting. Okay. I do, however, want to vote on agenda item G. This is ordinance 2024-36 to dissolve the City Beautiful Corporation repeal chapter 280 of the city's codified ordinances and authorizing the mayor to execute and file all documents necessary for the dissolution of the CIC. this would be considered already on the second reading.
Is this table two?
Is
Move to take it off the table.
there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rowe. Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
I would like to keep the CIC, the City Beautiful Corporation. I think it will be a valuable resource to the city. It was reinstated by vote of the current board. It is reactivated right now. There are many things that this City Beautiful Corporation can do. I do not want it resolved. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Weiser?
Vice Mayor, just for clarification, the way this is worded, we would have to move to do this, but if you are not in favor of dissolving it, you would have to vote against the motion, just so it's clear. I would so move.
I'll second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I would just incorporate my remarks that are in the packet. I see no utility in rereading them, but I just want to reference them here.
Okay, Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Nay.
Mrs. Sacks?
Nay.
Mr. Cooney?
Nay.
Mrs. Wise?
Nay.
Mr. Rock?
Nay.
Ms. Marshall? Nay. Ms. Weiser?
Nay.
This keeps the City Beautiful as part of that keeps it active. Thank you. Agenda item H, ordinance 2024-35, authorizing all actions necessary to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council NOPEC 2024 Energized Community Grant on second reading. Mayor, this is introduced by you.
This is just formally accept the grant award from NOPEC that goes into our account with them, and depending on the need as council deems necessary in terms of the budget, we can either expend that or ask them to hold that in escrow for a period of time, so you can accumulate some dollars to do a bigger project in future years. And I believe I still owe everybody a copy of the grant agreement. I thought I had sent that to Mrs. Thomas, but we had a little email issue. Did you get it? Okay. Okay.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kennedy? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-35. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Mr. King. Any comments? Okay, Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall? Aye. Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay, the ordinance passes. You're now up to letter I. Motion to authorize and release an advertisement of the request for statements of qualifications for an owner's representative for the University Heights Municipal Complex project. I want to first thank Mr. Bryant and the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, as well as all of the council members and the mayor for reviewing this. This was a over 2-year process. It began with the creation of the facilities and infrastructure process. Also the directors that were involved. There were 7 tours of service, police, and fire facilities. There were numerous meetings with the committee, as well as an assessment that was done. meetings with directors. All of this combined culminated into a meeting a few weeks ago with the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, which gave great feedback on various templates of RFQs. Mr. Bryant compiled all of the different comments into what you have right here. It is an excellent document. It has all of our finalized approved assessments from the committee, as well as not just their comments, but our pieces from the GPD assessment as well that we used. So I want to thank Mr. Bryant and the directors publicly right now. This is a very exciting time for the city. I think COVID kind of stalled it about a year, unfortunately. But this is much needed, and it's an exciting time for the city. This will jumpstart our facilities investment into the city, and we're moving forward with what's needed to be done. Are there any questions? I'm sure everybody had a chance to look this over. Are there any comments? I'd like to invite the directors also. I'm sure that they have looked this over. Mayor, you had something?
Yeah, I do. The process has gone on a lot longer than this committee. The city hired GPD Group to perform a facilities study and make recommendations. And GPD presented its draft report to the city in December of 2021. It was finalized in June 2022. We'll refer to that as the June 2022 report. We should have proceeded 2 years ago with an owner's rep, per the schedule that GPD provided, and worked out with them what the city was willing to afford and then proceed accordingly. Or if council wanted a second opinion, we could have hired additional experts on municipal facilities. Instead, council members have rejected our experts' findings, created a committee, many of whose opinions were also largely disregarded, and spent the last 2 years coming up with their own square footages for facilities that have now all been written into this RFQ. These square footages are amateur lay opinion. They are not expert. And I reject these lay opinion square footages, just as I have rejected all along the misguided process that brought them about. This city cannot commit tens of millions of dollars to new facilities on these made-up lay square footages for facilities. These lay square footages need to come out of the RFQ entirely. I conveyed that through Mr. Bryan. They are still here. The June 2022 report square footages should go in as the baseline square footages. The owner's rep can then work with the city to provide or secure the expertise needed to make meaningful modifications, if any, to the official numbers from the June 2022 report. The lay opinion of council members may be considered for what it's worth, but should not be given any weight even beginning to approach the numbers from the official June 2022 report. They certainly should not ever be referred to as the quote-unquote city's numbers or quote-unquote the city's latest numbers. They are not the city's numbers. They are the lay opinions of basically two council people. Moreover, the opinions of our police and fire chiefs and other department heads who actually work in the current spaces and other similar spaces should take precedence over council people who have at most only visited such spaces. I have heard from all relevant department heads that the lay square footages do not suffice. The fact that council members may have interviewed them does not mean that chiefs and department heads actually agreed with them. Notably, in April of this year, we visited the new Brooklyn City Hall and Police Station, a facility for a similar sized city with a similar sized police force and a similar sized municipal budget. Unlike University Heights, Brooklyn City government worked fully with their retained consultants, GPD. We got a great result. The new Brooklyn facility includes many features that the lay square footage is stripped out of the June 2022 report's recommendations. I had hoped that council members touring the Brooklyn facility would have taken note and changed course. We have not changed course, but we still can. While much time has been, I hate to say, wasted, there is still time to get this right. The lay numbers for square footages must come out of this RFQ. Any square footages referenced should come from the June 2022 report. I would accept that we may represent those June 2022 reports as recommended, but subject to meaningful expert revision with the assistance of the owner's rep and others the owner's rep may recommend, or such other language to that effect. I do not want there to be any confusion on this point. If we pass this RFQ with these lay numbers as they are referenced, now if they're any way represented as the city's, or in any way considered binding, if they go into this RFQ in any way, then on behalf of the city, I will not sign any contract resulting from this process. If these lay numbers are in any way inserted into a future negotiated contract, again, I will not sign such a contract. Passage and publication of this RFQ or any other like it that references these lay square footages will result in no contract at the end. Unfortunately, I will have to be the firewall that prevents this falling. City Council, Michelle Weiss, John Brock in particular, have already wasted 2 years doing their own research instead of working with the city's retained expert or bringing in another expert that we would retain to assist the city on this most critical project. We cannot afford to do it wrong. We cannot afford to proceed relying on made-up numbers. I might actually have additional comments on this RFQ, but without this fundamental change, I did not even attempt to go over with our law director any additional items, because without that fundamental change, it wouldn't be worth going over. And I would urge that we rewrite this draft before we pass it. Thank you.
I'll let Mr. Rock go first.
Thank you. Oh, it's going to be hard to rebut all of that because there's a lot there, but I would just start off by saying that my colleague, Vice Mayor Weiss, and I did not waste any time. We actually did your job, what you were supposed to do. We had to do a lot of the grunt work to make this a success. This body, the facilities subcommittee, worked tirelessly to tour facilities. I've gone through and measured the spaces. I've requested floor plans from their chiefs, their mayors. I've reviewed those square footages with our chiefs, with our directors. I've walked spaces with those chiefs and directors and asked questions like, do you think this apparatus bay is the right size? Would this work for University Heights? Greeted with, confirmation, yes, this would. The tour showed one thing, but the study was 4 times as big as what was we were touring. So I disagree that with your statements, and of course we could always use more space. I'm not disagreeing with that, and I'm sure we could use a bigger facility in the most grand way possible, and people deserve that. But what the the subcommittee came up with is a square footage that would best meet our budget. We have a budget, we have a space needs assessment. Those two do not align. There's quite a bit of a gap there. Now GPD stated in 2022 dollars, which I think there were actually $21 estimates, that this would be about $50 million based on the square footage that they have proposed. Now, you may call us amateurs, but the real amateur hour is with what you just said. As an attorney, I think you would know better. You must put the scope of work in that RFQ. Owners' representatives get paid based on the size of the building that is going to be built. It is a percent of construction cost. So if you don't put that in there, then they have no way of basing their fee. And you mentioned in there of having the original square foot as the benchmark, as the basis for this deliverable. I can't think of a worse idea, because at a $50 million construction cost, their fee, which DPD says is 3%, would be based on that $50 million, so $1.5 million. Which, by the way, 3% is a little high. It's around 1.5% for anything between 20 to 50 million range. So closely to 1.5% of a $25 million budget is $375,000. So there's about $1 million there that you're going to just give away to the owner's rep by stating the original square foot numbers, which is what they would base their fee on. And I work in this profession, so I know. You can go backwards in your budget. You can say, well, we have to cut back. We're going to make it 40 million. We're going to make it 30 million. I'm telling you right now, the professional services industry will base their fee on the original amount. They're not going to go backwards, because you just said they're going to have to look over the program, assist with the verification. There's going to be work involved in that. And they will be entitled to their fee based on the original amount. I would think we would be honest with them and say, this is our budget, which we are establishing at this point, and base a square footage based on that budget in a very factual way, because that is how we will be compensated. It's unfortunate that you want to go this route. It tells me by you not executing this agreement that you're holding this hostage until we give in to your demands. But really what you're saying to the two chiefs whose priority is these new buildings right now, fire and police being the priority, what you're saying is, I don't care. And that's what I'm hearing. And I won't go for that, and I think we need to do this the right way. We've had professionals in the architectural engineering community, developers, all weigh in on this. And we've had consensus built on what this facility's square footage should be so that it aligns with the proposed budget.
I just want to say that you have not attended one tour. You have no idea which lay committee members went on any of those tours. They were all professionals, as Mr. Rock just pointed out. Architects, engineers, developers. They attended every single tour. We had 3 to 5 council members that attended every single tour. I gave you the benefit of the doubt to tour one glass building, Brooklyn. Interestingly enough, GPD did their architect and engineering. No idea they did that until you mentioned it. But I have to say, it's shameful that you would resort to stating on the public record that you won't sign this. Because, you know what? If a council approves a contract or an ordinance, you are mandated to sign that. And if you don't, then you need to be held accountable for that. And if you don't sign it within the 30 days, then there is going to be some repercussions. And I am sick and tired of council approving contracts and ordinances and you not doing your job and following through. This is not a dictatorship. This is a democracy, as Ms. Weiser said before. There are going to be repercussions going forward. You're not going to get away with this anymore. Council is going to pass things and you are going to sign them going forward. This is not your palace here. Your chiefs are begging for new facilities. We sat with them and they were the ones that helped us decide what is right size. They did not disagree with anything. They were actually, some of the facilities that we toured were actually around the same size of what we had. And we are also constrained by land. We don't even have space for some of those footprints. We don't even have, which we have asked for 2 years already, an agreement with the city, with the school board for a service yard. We don't even have that yet. Where is it? We have asked for in writing, where is the service yard going to be? So you said that you're not going to sign it. Well, you need to buckle your seatbelt, because you know what? We're going forward with these plans. We value our chiefs. We value our service department. We have a $20 to $30 million budget. That's it. We don't have any other money. I don't know where you plan on getting this funding from. We don't have $50 million. We stand by our departments. We are going forward with this, whether you like it or not.
How many police departments have you built, Michelle? John, you?
Ms. Weiser, you don't have the floor right now.
I'd like to start with the old Michael Dillon brother. And I'm being very serious about this. The Michael Dillon brother, that when he was elected, looked at our facilities and said, and then formed a citizen committee that I actually headed in 2018. Somewhere after that, we lost the old Michael Dillon brother. And I don't honestly know why. I still remember when you said to me, when I asked you if, and I think this was like in 2018, the committee formed, I think by 2019, we reported back to council. They're basically, I don't even think, Michelle, you were on. Were you on that one? Where our committee came back and basically said to council, we need to take another step forward. We need to look at how do we plan and go forward. And then 2 years later, when I asked you about it, you said, I don't think we're gonna get it. And it's like, okay, you said no, that's fine. And it stayed dead. It did. You did say that to me. You were ticked at me at the time. And that's probably, you may have just been spouting off because you were ticked with me. It took the finance committee, and I was on finance advisory all this time, under Vice Mayor Wise, actually forming a subcommittee to begin strategic planning. And you sort of came kicking and screaming into that, but you did participate. But the one thing, and when I went on, became the resident member for CIC, I was no longer a part of that committee, but the one meeting where you said, when we were talking about how can we pay for this, you said, oh, we'll just issue a bond. Yeah, the city can issue bonds, but they have to be paid back. And the city of University Heights granted, hey, great. We're very fortunate. We've had some increase in income tax revenue because there's a corresponding increase in materials and service and also the rise in employees going forward. All of that affects our budget in future years. So this isn't a magic, money's going to appear from somewhere to pay for a huge, wonderful, glorious new city hall with extra conference rooms and a auditorium for 300 and a mayor's office with a toilet and a shower, all of that kind of stuff for this city of really 12,000 people in 1.8 square miles is outside of our budget. The city of Brooklyn has a gorgeous building, but the city of Brooklyn also has major income streams coming in that this city does not. University Square is going to be a positive thing. If all of those apartments are there and people rent them and they pay their income tax. But that site, to increase our revenues, to be able to pay for something huge and glorious, I'm not saying that anybody's wrong or right in this, but the 50-page plan you sent me, when I read through it, there's one thing I know: we can't afford it. There is no plan to make that money appear. And quite frankly, we can't really touch property tax much beyond what we are currently due for the park bond. And that park bond's gonna have to flip to a new pool bond, even though Mr. Cooney thinks it'll stay wonderful and the pool will be great for another 20 years. We are gonna have to replace it at some point. You know, I suppose it's gotta be planned, and I know you will. Of course, I'm teasing you. At some point, we have to deal with that, and we probably will have to flip it for that if we want to retain the pool as an amenity. And I would think we would have a whole slew of residents showing up at City Hall with pitchforks if you try to take that pool away. But the reality is, there isn't a big enough thing that we can pull in, and we don't have a big enough chunk of land to put something on that can generate that kind of cash to sustain that kind of a building and be able to pay it. Right now, first thing that happens when the property tax bills come out, there are unbelievable complaints. And quite frankly, my property taxes have gone up almost $2,000 in the past 11 years. And that has nothing to do with the city of University Heights. We're at a 2.5% income tax that we got the residents of this city to approve in 2006 because the city didn't have enough money to pay its bills. I know that because I was part of the group that knocked on doors and begged. But I can tell you, we can't go above that. The school district has sucked so much money out of our property taxes at this point, and if they come in for another levy, there will be no way for us to use that, to leverage that for extra money. So we have to be able to figure out a way to begin to do that reconstruction in such a manner we A, improve the two places where if we want to keep good people, police and fire, we can't jump for the grand thing. Once we figure out how to pay, and if we can pay for that, and you know, part of the reason that I supported you for mayor the first time you ran was because we had a mayor that although she was stashing away the money that is going to allow this city to plump cash down when we start constructing, that $8 million that was already tucked away when you took office has been paid down. It's actually drained down a little on needed things we needed. Previous councils have approved that. But this base is going to allow us to do something without raising taxes. And I'm sorry, we can sit here and argue about, oh, I don't like these things. I think that Councilman Rock made a very good point. If we show too high, we're going to pay too much, even for that first step. Then we can go from there. But until you could actually show me how you think you can pay off a $50 million bill, I don't think I can accept that. And I especially think the residents of the city are not going to sit there and go, oh yeah, the money will come. Just go do it. We'll find the funds. Because they don't live that way. We have people who do make a fair amount of money. Our incomes are not terrible in this city, but we don't have that raise to be able to pull it in. So I hear what the vice mayor is saying, and quite frankly, if it does take council taking the steps to force that thing to get signed, I'll support that. I wouldn't normally support it, but if you're going to sit there and just say, and you still cannot show us that, then we need to move ahead. Because this is about the residents, this is about the city, this is about providing police and fire with adequate buildings that they can finally work out of in a coherent fashion. And quite frankly, I'll be damned if somebody blocks us from doing that. Those guys put their lives on the line every day for us. And the conditions of our police and fire station are beyond antiquated. And I know at least that you and I can agree on. But playing games with this is not going to help.
May I respond? This process went off the rails at the end of 2021. When this city council did not work with the consultant we hired, that we spent nearly $50,000. And instead of hiring another consultant to get a second opinion or working with this consultant to work on these numbers, I mean, I agree. I don't want to have to go to the people and explain why we need a $45 to $50 million set of municipal facilities. There are things in these numbers that I think we can agree need to come down. But what we didn't do is we didn't bring in expertise who are working for us. We didn't retain anybody for a second opinion. We had this process, and yes, I'm delighted to say I didn't attend all these little field trips because it was a waste of time. This is not how it's done. These are like vaccine deniers doing their own research instead of relying on experts in the field who actually build police stations, actually build fire stations, actually build city halls. And the fact that this council has wasted the last 2 years and now wants to blame me for it, we've got a preliminary project schedule that GPD gave us in 2021. If we had followed this even remotely, we would have already broken ground on a new fire station, new police station, new service yard. We would be within months of those things being completed.
Mayor, you wouldn't
Now,
let
can
us
I finish?
change
Can I
one
finish?
thing.
Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Yeah. How many police stations have you built? None.
That has no...
It has everything.
Let me tell you something.
It has
This,
everything.
let
I
me
haven't
tell
built
you-
any either, which is
Let me
why.
tell you why it was so essential to tour these buildings. Because we had not just our chiefs there and our service director there, we had other chiefs that built those buildings there. And we asked them questions that you had no idea unless you were there and asking them in real time. You have no idea what we know because we were there in real time asking them questions. And our chiefs and our service director had no idea until they were standing there in real time what they really needed and what they really wanted. You have no information of like the information that we have in our heads right now because you never went on one tour. And let me tell you something else. You wouldn't let us change anything from GPD. You said it publicly. You wouldn't let us change anything. You wouldn't let us change one number in there.
Well,
so don't tell us we could have gotten a second opinion because we weren't allowed to.
No. Of course you did.
No, we weren't.
And what you tried to do was you tried to get Mo Darwish and the other folks at GPD to take your numbers that you made up and put them in the
Nothing
report
was
and
made up.
respond. And yes, you made up those numbers. That you took
Nothing
those
was made
numbers
up.
and you wanted Mo Darwish to put them in his report and then sign off on the report as if he had anything to do with those numbers. You know, that would be a little bit like, I think I've used this before, and I think Mr. Bryan can relate to this. I've had those clients as an attorney who took my legal opinion, didn't care for it, and then, you know, wrote up something else and said, say, what would you say if instead of the legal opinion you gave me, you go ahead and write on your letterhead the thing that I would like to do, and you sign off on it as your opinion and say, go ahead and do that. That's what you've done here. I have the floor. So, of course, as a matter of professional integrity, GPD Group, no engineer, no professional, no lawyer is going to take their clients' numbers and just insert them and say, yeah, these are good. They weren't part of the process. They were the consultant we hired. You disparaged them, you belittled them, you questioned their integrity, You flashed a textbook at them, John, and acted as if you know that Abby never went to school to learn how to do anything as an architect or an engineer. I mean, these are the kinds of things that were absent. This has been part of this process for over 2 years. We have wasted this time, and we're going to continue to waste time until we actually bring in somebody who can help us with numbers that you're willing to accept, because it's going to require somebody with expertise.
Yeah, so the first step to bring somebody in is to hire an owner's rep. That's how it goes, okay? The second thing is, you were the one who wasted time. We, as a council, hired GPD to do an assessment. You sabotaged the whole entire process when you were working with them and let them do a free-for-all with a $50 million budget that you knew we couldn't afford. Mrs. Sachs?
Thank you. Perhaps I'm gonna wonder about the elephant in the room. When I first came on council, the GPD consultant assessment was provided to us. It was $50 million. There was no plan presented how in the heck that would be paid. If I recall correctly, and I could be off a little bit, 16 conference rooms, a 400 square foot mayoral office with a full bathroom, a shower. I could go on and on. Obsolete kind of copier areas, multiple duplicate areas. Perhaps the answer to Councilwoman Weiser's question about what happened to the original Mayor Brennan is that then, I believe for the re-election, GPD became his most, provided the highest amount of campaign contributions to his re-election. Think about $2,000. So if you're already, the residents are already looking into his financial reports, then they want to look back to that election as well. I shudder to think that we would pass that on, that price tag, to our residents, and denying the space to not just our fire and police departments, which we must support them for our very safety, but also to our other directors, our finance directors, our economic development directors. We just passed the annex lease renewal because we were told they can't even carry on a conversation, let alone have any type of workable areas. So we need to move this forward. The mayor was invited to every single field trip, whatever we want to call it. I remember learning about the specialized light switches in the fire department that's needed. I mean, to that detail, we were exposed to what needed to be done by architects, not engineers, who specialized in it. But GPD is not an specialty architectural firm. It is an engineering firm. And for that, the audacity to bring forth a $50 million project that could have had specialized specialists to assist with that. So I am for this RFQ. I am for moving it forward. I am for giving the respect and the areas that our city employees need to do their jobs. And they are amazing that they hang on like they do. And I'm so respectful and in awe of them. And to just boldly say, point blank, carte blanche, that you will obstruct this and that it's wasted time. Please take a look in the mirror. Thank you.
Mr. Rowe?
I'm going to try to be nice about this, but it's obvious to me you don't know what you're doing, which is the whole reason we have to have a owner's rep. who knows what's going on, who understands this process, who will hold our hands. That's their job. That's what they do. That's why I suggested we hire one in the first place, so that we have somebody who has the city's back, who is going to write contracts that will favor the city, who will ensure that construction is being built in accordance with the design documents, et cetera, et cetera. That is the whole point of this. Now, you said some things about GPD's assessment, and let me correct you on a couple of points. As Vice Mayor White said, you did not allow us to make any corrections to the program. Now, let me explain how a program works, because you don't understand. You've never done anything.
The consultant didn't allow it.
No.
It's the consultant's report. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Let us know.
Point of order.
Mayor, a program is done by the city, or by the owner, we're going to say we're the owner, based on what we can afford and what we would like to have built. If the engineer, not an architect, but if the engineer says you need this, this, and this, and we say, no, we don't need indoor parking, we don't need a firing range, we don't need these things, their job is to take it out. That's how that works. You're the owner. When you instruct, I don't want a $50 million building, I want a $25 million building. Their job, their contract, is supposed to get you what you want. You did not allow that to make the changes, and I have emails to back that up.
Let's see them.
Well, you're going to have to give me some time.
But,
But, Mayor, I have the floor. Mayor, you don't know what you're doing. I have the floor. You don't know what you're doing. That's why we're hiring the expert. You must have in that scope of work what the size of their scope is. But if you're going to balloon it 4 times, you're going to ask the residents of University Heights to pay over $1 million for that professional owner's rep, based on a made-up number that nobody here is getting behind except you. Our job at this point in the architectural process, is to come up with a budget and come up with a space needs plan. The space needs was tailored around the budget that we had threw out there. It has not been finalized in a vote. Maybe we should just vote on a budget and then we can put this all to bed. That is what the next step is. You're going to have to just put your ego aside and put the service department and the fire and police first. That's how this process works.
I need to respond to this, because my integrity has been impugned.
Of course, okay.
Of course it has. And you're going to talk about ego, like you want the biggest ego in the room. I don't hold myself out as an expert. You claim to know everything about this. And the thing is that because I don't hold myself out to be an expert, I am reliant on the one expert we did hire, that this city spent nearly $50,000 on, that this council refused to work with, and then made up a bunch of numbers, demanded that they just sub in their numbers when our consultant had nothing to do with the process that got us to those numbers. You are the ones that abandoned the process. You are the ones that have taken this off the rails. And now that leads to where we are today. 2 years later, more than 2 years later, when we should have already broken ground on a police department, on a fire department, on a service yard. These are things that should have happened back in the end of 21 and the beginning of 22. And instead, you've been on this frolic and detour for all this time. And now we're at this place where you're mad at me for pointing it out. I haven't given you other numbers because I'm not an expert in building police stations or fire stations or city halls. But we ran off, we being the city council, the one expert that we did hire. And then you all got together and started doing your own numbers. How many police stations have you built, John Rock? And even if you've built 1 or 2, and I don't think you have, this is not your expertise. And if you're going to hold yourself out as some kind of expert here, That isn't your job as a city council person. We're supposed to rely on other people. You know, I was talking with an architect the other day, yesterday at the Noble Road, at the Noble Road Library. He was on the board of the CHUH library at the time that our University Heights Library was redone. And I know you're familiar with the project because the firm you used to work for worked on that project. And one of the concerns at the time that was done was because an architect was the president of the library board, that person might try to inject themselves and steer the project and use the fact that they have a little knowledge about architecture to go and try and micromanage the project. Well, he didn't do that. But this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And yeah, we will need an owner's rep in due time. But what we don't need is to send an owner's rep a bunch of garbage numbers, a bunch of lay numbers that were not created with the assistance of either our expert or another one that we could have brought in instead. This process is faulty. You're asking the community to commit tens of millions of dollars to continue in this process to build these things. I know we need a police department. I know we need a fire department. I am disappointed that the council has wasted the time of our police chief and our fire chief and our department heads on this frolic and detour. But we must bring it back onto the rails, and that means actually working with somebody. Now, if we're not going to have the owner's rep do it, then we need to bring somebody else in and do it.
All right, so
I'd like to make a motion.
Well, I have one more comment, and then we were going to make a motion. Mira, if you recall, I asked for GPD and you and me, and I think maybe one other council member, I'm not sure exactly, I have to look in my emails, which I do have, for a meeting to get this back on the rails, and you did not respond or even remotely want to be part of this. So this is not on council, this is on you again. Now, this is the next step in this. This is not, those numbers are not set in stone. This is a first step. They are going to hire architects, they are going to hire engineers, and this is the first step in many, many steps. Because they are going to hire experts, they are going to hire specialized safety, well, I don't know what the word is, John, but whatever.
Maybe you can hire some of those specialists to get to these numbers in the first place.
Well, whatever it is, this is the first step. These numbers are not set in stone, and it specifically has a $20 to $30 million number in here, which is what we can afford. And I think we can all agree that that is what we can afford. And I think we can all agree that this is the first step that is going to get us to where we want to be in facilities. So I don't think this is an argument. I think this is something that all of us want to do, and let's just start fresh. Let's get through this. We need an owner's rep. This is the first phase in this facilities. This is going to get us where we need to go.
Right. I want your commitment that if you agree that these numbers are not the final numbers and that these numbers are just suggestions and that you are going to go ahead and take actual expert advice as to what our numbers should be in relation to what our budget would be. If you agree to that, that would go a long way here.
These numbers are not final numbers.
Vice Mayor.
And the budget of $20 to $30 million in here is what we can afford.
Vice Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the release and advertisement of requests for statements of qualifications for owners or representative for the University Heights Municipal Complex Project.
Second.
Comments?
Thank you, Mr. Cooley.
Thank you. Mrs. Thomas, we call roll.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay. We're now on to letter J. Motion declaring 2239 Barrington Road a public nuisance.
Good evening.
There it goes. It's on there.
Good evening.
I submitted pictures of 2239 Barrington Road. Those pictures were taken during the initial search warrant, which was executed with the police department. Since that time, we actually executed a second search warrant. The second search warrant was in conjunction with the health department. I received a report from the health department last Friday, the same day that we executed the search warrant. The health department believes that the mold inside the house is a type that will eventually cause potentially structural damage to the house, along with it being, adverse to health. The story behind this one is that the owner passed away. There was a reverse mortgage on the property. He passed away maybe 2 years ago, and the house has been sitting ever since. The exterior doesn't draw that much attention, but there was enough attention for one of my inspectors to take notice. It was based on that we started to do some more follow-through, and that's how the first search warrant came about. So based on the condition of the property and the health department's assessment, I'm requesting that council deem this property a nuisance. This may assist the department in future filings for this particular property. We won't be able to file against the owner since he's deceased, but I'm going to have to meet with Mike Cicero to see if receivership would be an option for this. The reverse mortgage is a mortgage that's actually backed by HUD, so it may throw a curveball, but it's not something I know as of yet. I do know that at least deeming the property a nuisance would be some help.
So,
A second.
Sorry, any comment, questions? Mrs. Thompson, hello.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
aye.
Thank you. And letter K, motion declaring 4337 Beachy Road a public nuisance.
Thank you. Again, I submitted photos of this particular property. Photos were taken with the tenant being present. The property was actually transferred to an out-of-state investor without following through on the city's ordinances requiring escrow along with the owner taking responsibility for the violations. So we reached out to the owner. We followed through on a second follow-up inspection, and we ended up filing a case against the owner. The case was dismissed recently because we will be going after the property manager who is local instead of the owner. And the condition of the property itself it adds, it's in a derelict condition that adds blight to the street. All of the surrounding properties are in good condition. This is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. There's issues with not just the frontage and a broken window right in front of the house, but also with the garage. And when I was there was trash in the backyard that there's no telling how long it had been there. The tenants have been in touch with the property manager again and again and again. The property manager has pretty much been unresponsive to their needs. And based on that, I'm requesting that the property be deemed a nuisance. This would be one eventually that we would take the receivership. The potential issue with that is a lot of times with the receivership, the property has to be vacant. So this is it's gonna be a while, but this is something that I would need in order to move forward in the future with the receivership case. And in the meantime, we will be filing against the current property owner, or not the property owner, but the property manager, since he is local and it's his responsibility to fix the property.
How does that work when you have a tenant in there? Like how do you, I know it's hard to get a tenant out. So.
Yeah. The tenant themselves, they're not happy with the conditions. It's It's my understanding that they are looking at other options. The tenants themselves moved in from out of town. They're originally from Georgia. I had a 30-minute conversation with them. They just moved in believing that the work was going to be done, and it wasn't. That's where we are with them.
Was that property manager manage any other properties here?
I don't have that information yet, but I will. I can't say too much just because there's other things going on with this particular property manager and nothing's been filed yet.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks? Aye. Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye.
Okay, letter L, motion for $10,000 appropriation increase to cover the total 2024 Juneteenth celebration expenses. So I'll start. I want to, first of all, thank Mr. Engelbrecht for calling a few council members and informing us that this will be on the agenda. Thank him for his transparency. I know that I had a couple conversations with him. He did speak to, like I just mentioned, a few other council members. I have some concerns that I want to state. Reviewing the minutes from the March 4th meeting, there were two very clear statements. Number one was there was $44,100 that was approved for Juneteenth. And it was very clearly stated that we knew we were getting $10,000 from Dollar Bank, and that was separate from the expenditures. So $44,000 was what we had to spend, period. And through that meeting, it was understood in the minutes. There was also a statement that said, you know, we know the value of this event. This is the largest event that we have. Don't come back to us 2 weeks before and ask for more money. That's kind of where we're holding right now. When I look through the expenses here, I also see, which was discussed in the minutes, we don't have the overtime of the police and service in here yet. So it's not really, you know, $53,000. It's actually going to end up being more than that. Now, I do appreciate that you did raise some more money here. So, you know, it's about $5,000 more right now. $6,000 more right now. So we do have that extra, which is not there. But we still have a problem. Those are my initial comments. Is there anyone else have anything that they want to say? Ms. Weiser?
When one of the other, I wasn't one of the people who called, when one of the other council people called me, I said, I bet he thought he could add the 10 to the 44. And that upset me, not because you understand appropriations, or I thought you did, and that when we appropriate a set amount, that's the legal amount that can be spent. I was upset because I know the mayor's chief of staff is on your committee. She should have flagged that for you. Or the mayor himself. And that way you wouldn't have found yourself in the position of having to come back when, and it wasn't me, oddly enough, when a council person made it really clear, I don't want anybody to come back. I recognize the issue that you're in because unless council increases that appropriation, we all got a problem. Because then we're not in balance. That's never a good thing. I'm not against doing that, but this can't happen again for a third year in a row. It just can't. Somehow, the Juneteenth budget's gotta get under control so that you know how much you can spend and you only spend that amount. And you don't find yourself in the position where we sit here and wonder what the heck is going on, that the appropriation is being ignored. I think you understand that. And again, I mean, I understand, I was willing to bet how it happened, but I really was upset that, because I know you know appropriations we can't go over, and that becomes problematic.
So anyone else want to say anything?
So on this motion, it's asking for a $10,000 appropriation increase. My understanding was that the $10,000 was the $10,000 from Dollar Bank.
Yes.
So it's not an increase then? That was already included, right? Because I thought we discussed that during our meeting where we approved the $44,100. Wasn't the $10,000 from Dollar Bank mentioned then?
It was, so the 10,000 was mentioned a lot during that conversation. But it was my understanding, or at least my personal understanding, that it was the full 44,000 that was brought back. If I believe, that it was actually 34,100 and 10,000 from Dollar Bank would have been used to make the celebration cheaper, I wouldn't be here. We would have likely just stayed with local artists, like we have 5, and just 1 headliner. Yeah, that's what happened. So it wasn't just the 10,000 that we were aiming for. We wanted to reach out to as many nonprofits and organizations as we could to try and get as much bang for the buck for the city. This request it doesn't include the $6,000, the additional $6,000, and we will likely be getting more within the next 2 weeks. Yes, it's only for the 10,000, and I could say that if this is, I can apologize to council. It wasn't my intent to, have to do this again. But my understanding was that the 44 was put back in place to not include the 10. And I guess I understood that wrong, if that's what it was.
I'm confused in what you're saying, because
I thought we were going to go to 30.
The 44 was put back.
$44,100 is what's in the expense line item. It doesn't matter what revenue came in. $44,000 is what we have to spend, period. It was clear that $10,000, yeah, we have $10,000 coming in for revenue. Nice. But at this point, we have more of a problem than just the $44,000. We have $53,000, and we don't have any overtime expenses that are in there either. It's not $1,000.
I actually have those numbers. I received the overtime numbers last year from fire, police, and service. The total for overtime for fire, fire, police, and service came to, well, it's $1,300 for fire, $2,766 for service, bringing the total amount to $4,066. That does not include the 4 hours of overtime that one police officer will be serving this year. The budget, or what we were able to do is work with the company, myself and the police department, Royce Protection Services, in supplying the security for the event. The security came to less than half of the budgeted amount that we were expecting based on last year's numbers. And that's based on just the change in lineup for this year's celebration. We don't have a Grammy winner as the headliner this year. It makes a difference. So the security came to around $7,000, which is, again, half. So we actually, with the additional funds, we actually would have everything covered as far as overtime is concerned.
So right now with the overtime, we're at 13,436 over the 44,100. Now again, I know you're bringing in probably $6,000 more, but
That'd take it up to about 57,000 that we need to appropriate to get it at least close. What it is, the 44 plus.
2,700.
You've got 53,470 right now that you're showing. We, in the appropriation line, we only have 44,1. But without, we have to add the cost of the overtime in to get a total. So that's gonna take that 53,470 up to about what, Vice Mayor, what did you say?
58.
To 58. So we'd have to move the appropriation to 58,000 to authorize the spend. Am I correct, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm afraid not.
Oh, no.
Let me just kind of start from scratch. The council appropriated the money for the Juneteenth event. That money is based on needs for things like performers, sound, security. Police and fire overtime and service overtime are included in those individual departments' budgets. When we did the budget, the payroll numbers that were prepared for each one of those departments included estimates that were based on the actual usage last year. So technically, that money is already there for police, fire, and service in their budgets. There is no payroll line in the recreation and entertainment budget, which is Department 1330. So I would feel comfortable if council desires to increase the budget, to just increase it for the hard costs that are necessary. We can always come back and say, here's what the event cost in totality, but you don't need to appropriate that to that department because it's already in the premise of the budgets for those individual departments. If that makes sense.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Kennedy. Yeah. Where would you take that $10,000 from?
Well, if it's an appropriation increase, then it's just an increase to the general fund budget. I'm doing an appropriation amendment for the next meeting that would be included as part of that. I mean, if you want to balance that increase, then I would have to look at, and I can't give you an answer this evening, but we would have to have a discussion on where there's the current year-to-date surplus that's projected to extend through the end of the year. I hope that helps.
We did have a discussion as part of the March 2024 Recreation Committee meeting. If the overtime figures could be pulled out of the general overtime ledger amount into Juneteenth to accommodate for all costs associated with the event, Vice Mayor had asked for that to happen. And to get that number would not be difficult based on obviously payroll for those days.
But I guess what I'm saying, Councilman Cooney, is we would have to establish a payroll line, a pension line,
right,
in the recreation entertainment budget, and charge everything to there and have separate entries. It's way too complicated.
Right. If we wanted to know what we spent, we can get it.
Yeah, we can isolate what the actual overtime expense was. But like I said, I would recommend that we only appropriate the hard costs that are associated with the event, because we've already accounted for the soft charges per se in other departments when we develop their salary information for this year.
I'm not trying to make your day more difficult. It was just we could get the information.
Yeah.
If we needed to.
Yes, absolutely.
Vice Mayor, Jeff, is there any other thing that you think is going to come up that you're going to have to spend?
No.
Okay. Then I move that we appropriate a $10,000 increase to cover the total 2024 Juneteenth celebration expenses.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Thompson, call the roll.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
No.
Mr. Rock? Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Engelberg.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now on letter M, motion to authorize seeking bids for recycling cards.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just to bring everyone's update on the numbers as of 5 p.m. tonight, we had 1,651 residents opt into the recycling program. So we're nearly 40% of our residential households opting into the program at this time. 40? Close to 40.
I have 4,200 households.
Yeah, it's about 38.8%, I believe, what, 1651? In any event, with that, I'm looking to have council authorize the for the recycling cards. At this time, I'm looking with our current numbers. We have 317 residents requesting the 48-gallon cards, and 1,334 residents requesting the 95-gallon cards. I'm requesting an order of 360 of the smaller cards and 1,550 of the larger cards. Both accommodate damage to cards, some cards at our facility, as well as spares for additional residents that may come in here late in the near future. The total estimated cost of this is approximately $100,000, and there were funds budgeted in the 2024 city budget to account for this. In addition, at our next council meeting, you will see a piece of legislation relating to accepting a grant from the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District. Very late Friday, they sent a letter over to us acknowledging a $25,000 grant to cover part of the cost of collecting the cards.
Mrs. Sampson. Thank you. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Pennington, for for all the dialogue we've had about this, and ever since you've come on board, it's been a pleasure working with you. And I want to thank the Service and Utilities Committee for working through these past couple of years. I think this is the right path. When I came on, there was a proposal, I think the administration wanted to purchase the large 95, 96 gallon carts for all households, and it cost about $240,000. So I feel that we are in a good place, good start with people opting in who want to recycle. I'm very excited to see the education and training that goes along with this so that people can really understand what can and cannot be included, so we have as clean recycling as possible, which is what our residents want, and that other residents will opt in at the next stage. So we are actually at a great start. It even exceeds what SCS had thought, I think it was 32% or so of our households. So thank you. And I know you have a lot of work ahead of you once they come and they have to be constructed, assembled and distributed, and then we work through like any new program, evaluation and see how to improve it. So thank you, and we'll talk probably just a little bit more about it at the next Service and Utilities Committee, just kind of tie it up.
And then also bring up the council's attention as part of this this authorization to bid. I am bidding an alternate for the company to deliver and assemble the bins to help implement that process, and including that distributing our information packet to go with each bin to each resident. So when they get their card, they will get an information packet that will include information as to what can be recycled, as well as the different types of recycling materials.
That's great to hear. When do you anticipate that piece of literature being available?
At this point, we're waiting for the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District to finish with the consortium bidding for the recycling services. Once we know who our municipal recycling facility is, at that time, then we will make a determination as to what items can be recycled.
I'd like to see that. That would be nice to share with council, or at least the Service and Utilities Committee. I think they would appreciate us circling back on that. I have a question, perhaps. Have there been how many households have been unable to comply with the curbside collection and needed accommodations?
Right now, there are approximately 34 households that have requested special assistance. There are a number of others that have not filled out the special assistance form that I am in the process of trying to get further information from them.
Has anybody been denied?
One person.
Okay, I haven't heard about it, so maybe that's okay. But what is the reason?
The person wanted the special assistance for convenience as opposed to need.
Well, we have all different types of houses and all different types of driveways for one person. So again, I hope you'll reconsider. I'm advocating on behalf of that one resident, because sometimes people have conditions you can see, and sometimes they have conditions you can't see. Sometimes they're willing to divulge their personal information, and sometimes they're not. So what may appear to be convenience may actually be a necessity, and by not providing that one person with the accommodation, the city is putting a barrier out to recycling, someone who wants to participate. So I hope you'll reconsider.
I have been in contact via email with the resident, and they have not followed up with me. So at this point, if they feel they need to do that, we'll welcome them.
Thank you for trying to circle back.
Any other comments? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Consu-Pello?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sacks?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise? I'm sorry, Mr. Cooney?
Right here. Literally right. Aye.
Getting my fans.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rod?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall? Aye. Ms. Wise?
Aye.
Thank you. Is there a need for an executive session? Yes. Okay, reports from standing committees, building and housing.
There will be a building and housing meeting at 6 p.m. before the next council meeting on the 17th. And one thing, Mayor, you may have missed reading her name, but Congresswoman Chantel Brown was also at the parade.
She wasn't.
Usually we don't get Congress people to show up. We get people, their people throwing candy. So to actually have Congresswoman Brown here was quite a coup for the city.
Thank you, Ms. Weiser. Community outreach, Mr. King.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Wanted to brief council and the mayor on the status of the Technology Advisory Commission. I recently became aware of the City Code Governing Commission. Terms for members of the commission are for 2 years that coincide with municipal elections. Unfortunately, this was missed at the start of 2022 and 2024. So we need to do something about it before the group can meet again. The code states that council members nominate residents to the mayor for appointment. Appointments are then confirmed by the Community Outreach Committee. Additionally, the Board of Education and the Library Board also appoint 1 member each. The code suggests some areas of expertise: law, science and technology, information technology or MIS, education, consumer affairs referring to technology, economics related to technology, communications, media, including social media, computer sciences. So please submit nominations to the mayor. I'll also send this information out to you in an email, just to get that out there. In the meantime, I'll be sending out a poll for the community outreach. Get that in. If we have appointments ready to be confirmed by then, we can vote on them. We can also use this meeting to discuss potential remedies for the streaming issues we've had been having recently with these meetings.
Can you also send the current numbers just so we can see them?
Sure.
A question. Will you also alert the current members so they can express their interest or disinterest in serving in the
I already have talked with the chair people on this, but I'll contact all of the members. Thank you, Mr. Rock.
Yes, we will have a meeting on June 25th from 6 to 8 in this building, in this room, for the Zone Co update. That's all I have to share.
Finance, there's no report right now. Recreation,
No report, Vice Mayor.
safety.
Well, just that we won't be having an executive meeting until
Thank you. Service and utilities.
Thank you. There's a Service and Utilities Committee meeting on June 10th at 6 p.m. We were having some discussions about a combined Building and Housing and Service and Utilities Committee meeting on June 26th, which seems like it's the last available day. And I'm willing to talk. I know that we had a robust discussion about the need for another COW meeting. So I don't know if that date is needed. We can negotiate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee of the whole, we are going to try and get one before the end of the month. So, reports of special committees and taking action thereof. Finish miscellaneous business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. And thank you.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Sachs? Aye. Mr. Cooney?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Mr. Rock?
Aye.
Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
Ms. Weiser?
Oh, I guess I'm gonna need the sunglasses.